Konnichiwa, Guan, Mina Slimes.
Oh shit, hey. Welcome to Philosophy 101,
Hello, welcome to
the
Philosophy
greatest
101.
beginner philosopher course on the internet for free.
For free.
Subscribe, like.
Hi, I'm tropicalstuck. I have a philosophy channel on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hey YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, hey Twitch. And I usually either read really dense philosophical texts, or lately I'm reading foundational texts on philosophy, reading Plato currently. But we're going
Okay.
over in Philosophy 101 with our lovely audience surrogate here, Internet Ugly. Listen, here we're only talking about the frameworks that you can use to look through and make your own opinions on politics. I'm not here to regurgitate
Yeah.
anything to you. Once again, I'm here just giving you the frameworks, and whatever you do with that is just entirely your onus. So, and you'll see that actually this stream, we're hitting a topic that I use quite frequently, especially when engaging with philosophical works. And you'll see why in an actual video that I've posted. So, let's talk logical fallacies, shall we?
So, Professor, my dear Professor Duke, what is a logical fallacy?
Great question for you to
And
ask.
why should I care about them?
Essentially, fallacies are common but bad arguments, which is to say, they're not logical. A lot of them, and here, I'll give you a little bit of a nuance. A lot of them, like appeals to authority, at some point were actually considered not logical fallacies because back in, like, say, the medieval era, you would assume God was an authority. And that was not really something that you could contest. So it was like a
Mm-mm.
sort of an implied you can appeal to authority and it wasn't a logical fallacy. Since the death of God, according to Nietzsche, we can say that things are appeals to authority, or also like things that were considered appeals to authority back then could also have been like you know, appealing to a divinely appointed monarch or like an aristocrat or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But essentially, it is a fallacious argument, which means that it is defective. And they often
Ooh.
appear in writing even by people with PhDs in philosophy, which you will see that I found one just, well, I mean, I find them a lot, but sometimes I find them quite egregiously, especially in more modern writings, in which it doesn't it doesn't jive. They're usually deceptively plausible arguments, but when you hear them, you're like, you kind of get like, you get a little pause, and you're like, what? Sorry?
Something feels a little bit off, maybe.
Yeah, and you start to get a sixth sense
Mm.
for it. I especially, I'll give you guys homework afterwards. If you feel like completing it, it'll be in the description down below. So they're often, if you remember last week, if you were here for last week where we were talking about argument structures and whether they were deductive or inductive arguments, and also whether deductive arguments were valid or invalid and sound and unsound. And if you don't remember that, it's a VOD. You can go watch it on YouTube. But also inductive arguments where they were either strong or weak, and cogent or not cogent.
Mhm.
And so that is essentially just whether or not the main one that you have to worry about is soundness of a deductive argument and cogency of a inductive argument, which is essentially, do you have something here? Is this probably the case in the sense of an inductive argument, or is it logically the case in the sense of a deductive argument? And so many fallacies are just not they're not sound. Sometimes they're not even valid. Um and they're not cogent. So, depending on the argument type. But we're going to go through some easy ones that you can quickly decipher yourselves. We're not going to go through all of them. There's a lot of fallacies out there. There's an entire Wikipedia page on them. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube that cover them like as a list. And I feel like I would be wasting your time if I tried to do all of them. We're going to go through common ones. And then also, I'm going to show you how it showed up in my work when I was doing stuff on essentially kind of like auditing a philosopher. So
Okay,
hopefully you get
okay.
something out of that. Did
Interesting.
Popper come up on and falsification? No. Yeah, Cameron Works,
Mm.
Russell's favorite. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing and all that jazz. You guys are awesome. I love you. But
Thank
yeah.
you.
And any other questions, my darling student, audience surrogate student?
Teacher, did you give homework last time or no? I'm
I
just
did,
curious. I didn't see.
actually.
You did?
So if you check the
Ooh.
last video's description and you look you look there, I didn't put my own old homework as I said I would in the last video because I was like, oh, I don't feel like doxing myself. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I put homework that is very, very similar and covers everything that we talked about. So it's there if you want to do it and
Okay,
get better
sweet.
at your argument structures, seeing if something's valid, invalid, cogent, not cogent, sound, unsound, weak, strong, all there for you. But, any other questions
Wait,
before we begin?
so like last time we looked at what makes an argument good or valid or like trustworthy.
Yes.
And today we're gonna look at some things that make arguments bad and
Bad,
untrustworthy.
yes. They're essentially just using often rhetoric to lead to an illogical conclusion. And these ones are very, very, they're called logical fallacies because you can find the falsity, fallacious, false, in the actual argument structure itself. So these are common false logical arguments.
Mhm.
So
They don't logically hold up.
yes. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, let's go.
I'm eating my French baguette at the same time, but I'm actually very ready.
Oh, lucky. I have my not sponsored FIFA drink that is now warm. Ew.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah. So we have at first glance our strawman. Ah, very common
Classic
one.
straw man.
Huh?
Who's heard of the straw man? Hands up.
Hands up, who's heard of a strawman argument? And it's often misused actually online. Which now you'll know the actual definition if someone tells you that you have a strawman argument or accuses you of having a strawman argument. You can say, "No, the fuck I don't. Here's why." But
Okay.
also, on the contrary, if you see one, you'll be able to pick it out super easily. So, strawman fallacy is the misrepresentation of a person's views so they can be more easily attacked or dismissed. And let's say, oh god, let's bring up another political. This book brings up a lot of political.
Did you use the fudge
Examples? Yeah, this book tries to trigger you. Don't be triggered, guys. It's doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Did I use the fudgesicle box as a teleprompter in the Oil is Sentient video? If you check on Patreon, you will have your answer.
Ooh,
Daniel.
mysterious. I have no idea.
And also
what
thank
this
you
is.
for the 20 doubloons. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, no, if you check there, you'll get the full story and also the entire blooper reel of me recording that video, where it's just me mostly like it was from the hours of 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. of me arguing with my camera and my teleprompter made out of a fudgesicle box. And
Okay.
I can't get that time back. I can't get that time back. I went to bed and I messed up my sleep schedule for like 2 days afterwards. But you know, such
Ooh,
is
yeah.
life. I will say if you want to support me so I no longer have to use a popsicle box, Patreon's right there. The popsicle box was absurd. If you look, I have it gate kept so only Patreon members can see it. But it looks wild. Claudia, you've seen it, right?
I don't think so, actually. You've spoken about it before. But...
Oh. It's
Oh,
I'll
I
show
still
you.
need
I'll
the
show you
quick behind
after.
the scenes footage.
I'll show you after. But okay,
Only the chosen few can see that.
only the chosen few. But alas, okay. So strawman, we're getting political, sure. My adversary argues that the war in Afghanistan is too much for the United States, and that we ought to, in effect, cut and run while we can. I forgot when this was published, but this was like easily probably 2010s. I think 2013. Don't quote me on that. But why must we take the coward's way out? Thus, your point has been distorted and made to look more extreme and radical than it really is, and now it's an easy target. But someone's misrepresented your viewpoint. So, the notion that we ought to cut and run and take the coward's way out does not follow from the statement that the war is too costly. So, you're essentially saying, like, you're attributing cowardice to something, why does it have to be a political one? To be fair, views on this are entirely of the book's own volition. But, essentially, you were attributing what a coward would do, which is also an ad hominem, with, something that is too costly, which is a completely separate argument. Because if the original argument was, this is too costly, we should not pursue it, you're saying, the other person is presenting a strawman argument and saying, well, we're taking the coward's way out. You are suggesting that we're taking the coward's way out when it's not logically following, because that is not what you said, is it? You said something else.
He's not actually engaging with the argument of the other side. He's just putting other things on it, sort of putting words in someone's mouth, almost.
Yes, essentially it is putting words in someone's mouth.
Attacking that.
Thank you, audience surrogate. You're so good. You're doing so good. Thank you.
Maybe I'm having a good day today.
You're always having a good day. But
because I'm supposed to ask these stupid questions, right? Like I try.
yes.
But...
Any stupid questions here?
Is it about an actual straw man? Is it like about what's a straw man? Is it like what you use to scare away birds?
It's essentially building a fake argument that was not actually the real argument. That hence straw man. I believe is the etymology. I remember that was how I was first taught about it. Like, oh, you've just built a scarecrow for you to fight against. But
Scarecrow, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the actual etymology. That might be folk etymology. But it's much easier to take down a straw man than it is an actual man. So
yeah,
you just build one and then you punch it.
If it helps you remember it, then it sounds right. It sounds like that's the point of the name.
Yeah, cat is essentially like a decoy or target dummy. Yes. So next we have one of my favorites. They say appeal to the person here, but it's usually called ad hominem. And that one is very often flung around quite haphazardly. Usually. And what I would say is sometimes they can be funny, but it's actually just an insult. You just insulted someone, and then because you insulted them, you also discredit them in their insult. So you can safely discard anything Susan says about the government. She's a dyed-in-the-wool socialist, which may or may not be true, but also you are discrediting the fact of what she's saying in general on something that has nothing to do with whether or not she may or may not be correct. Usually it's more of like, you can safely discard anything Susan says about the government. I don't know. All she cares about is her hair, or something.
Okay.
So you're kind of bringing, or like, she's too stupid to even know what's up from down.
Yeah.
And this is once again, these examples are trying to get political, but we're gonna circumvent that a little bit. And Johnson's, oh my god, again. We're going to ignore the Johnson one as well. Ad hominem often creeps into student philosophy papers. Part of the reason that some appeals to the person are, some ad hominems, I'm just going to keep calling them ad hominems, that's what I think of them as in my head, are not so obvious. For example, Swinburne's cosmological argument is a serious attempt to show that God is the best explanation for the existence of the universe. However, it is well known that he is a theist, and in fact, this raises some doubts about the strength of the case. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Oh my god, they still made it, about
They really try to trigger you in
something
this
controversial.
book.
They really are
try.
trying their best to make it as controversial as possible, but sure.
Yeah.
But essentially,
Is it just dissing someone? Does it always have to be mean, or can it also be something unrelated a little bit,
it
but
can
it's
be it.
still
It just means it is unrelated to what the actual argument
yeah.
is. You are attacking the person,
Mm,
and because of that, you are discrediting their argument, but only through the lens of the person and not the argument itself. You're only looking at the person
okay.
and not the argument. Hence why it is a fallacy. Because it is an appeal to character.
hmm It's like Destiny doesn't know what he's talking about politically because he is a horrible person. Some people will say, right?
That is
It's like,
technically an
does it
ad
have anything to
hominem.
do with the argument?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these arguments, each is defective because it asks us to reject or resist a claim solely based on a person's character, or their background, or circumstances. But it's generally irrelevant to the truth of the claims in the argument. So it asks you to ignore the argument itself and pay only attention to the person, which is, in effect, fallacious, because you've just not only you're not engaging with the argument, you're engaging with the character of the person.
Okay, makes sense.
Then there's appeal to popularity, or appeal to the masses. I usually hear it called appeal to the masses, but another extremely common fallacy. It's it's a claim arguing that it must be true because it's backed by a lot of people. And this one you'll actually hear a lot, especially by commentary channels and things of that nature. Where it's like, oh, it's true because everyone knows this, or everyone believes this,
Uh-huh. Okay.
or most people would say that this, when it's like, one must ask, who? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Does truth only
even
come in numbers, or can a lot of people be wrong?
Yeah, especially most people would say this. I feel like that's a very, I didn't even think of it as part of this logical fallacy. Because sometimes you feel like, oh, well, I guess if most people agree on this thing, then it's probably true. But yeah, that's a good one to put in there because no, it doesn't mean it's probably true.
No.
Really, the argument can still be false.
Because the thing is that if you're trying to argue something logically, the amount of people that believe it it doesn't matter, actually.
Yeah.
It just needs to be something that is logically sound. And so, of course, once again, they're trying to make it political and or religious here, where it's like, we don't need to do that. But most people believe that Jones is guilty, so he's guilty. But the amount of people that believe it doesn't matter here. What matters is his guilt. So it's an appeal to the masses, it's an appeal to popularity. And in each of these arguments, it's thought to be true merely because it's believed by an impressive number of people. But how many times have we been wrong throughout history as a species? And you know what? Humans are fallible, which is kind of, I would say, the best part about us. But, perhaps it makes us a little bit, characteristically, yeah, here, it's going into the whole thing of, like, we used to believe that mermaids are real. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. I hope. I mean, I may or may not be one, but I may be a mer king.
Merman?
Merman.
Ooh. Have we ever seen your legs? I don't think so. There might be a tail there.
Don't let me touch water from the ocean, because who knows what'll happen. But remember, the amount of people that believe in something does not mean that it is true. Even if those people happen to be experts on the matter, it needs to be something. We cannot assume that because of the amount of people that believe it, it is inherently true. That is what this is trying to say. The amount of people that believe it does not prove that it is inherently true. Can it still be true? Yes. But it is not based upon the amount of people that believe it. That is why it is a logical fallacy.
Okay. Makes sense.
Then we have the genetic fallacy, arguing that a statement can be judged true or false based on its source. Kind of essentially basically like the appeal to a person, but instead of it being a person, it's like more than an individual. It can be like an organization, schools of thought, groups of people, etc., institutions, what have you.
Okay. So it's like, oh, well, this group of people is saying this, so it must be false. Or it must be true as well. You can also flip it. I saw someone in chat sort of ask that as well. Like, can you also use these fallacies in support of your argument? Like, yeah, of course. And then
Yes.
it also wouldn't be true.
There's still fallacies. If you try to
Yeah.
prove an argument based solely off of one of these fallacies, or, well, yeah, especially solely off of one of these fallacies, you would have a fallacious argument. You would have a false argument. So,
Yeah.
you can have other things to support your argument that are true premises, but using these would usually, in most cases, discredit your argument, depending on if it's inductive or deductive.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Or at least you can't prove your argument is true based on, or your premise, your argument, I guess. Your argument is true based on these things that you're saying here. Maybe it is true, like we don't know, but based on the evidence you've given, if it's a logical fallacy, then no, we are not accepting the evidence. We're still at the genetic fallacy, right?
yes. So arguing that the statement can be judged true or false based on its source, which is kind of a misleading name. Genetic fallacy, I'm very rarely refer to it as that, but essentially like the new military reform idea's gotta be bunk. It comes from a liberal think tank. Once again, making it political. Why must we do such things?
They love that.
Yeah, but let's say like the new playground reform idea has to be bunk. It comes from the stupid parent-teacher association that I don't like. And it's like essentially the same thing as an ad hominem, but you're doing it to an institution or a group of people or something much larger than an individual, essentially.
Okay.
So, does that one make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So it's like, well, the Catholic Church said that, so it must be false. Or, well,
The Catholic Church said it, so it must be true. Unless it is a matter of like Catholic doctrine, then that would be a different thing. But we're not talking about that.
it's so difficult to come up with non-offensive examples. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. If we don't talk religion and we don't talk politics, I think we're in the clear. Because the thing is that you use these arguments to make your own decisions on these matters. We are not making any political claims for you. We are not making any religious claims for you. You must decipher this and find this truth on your own. That is the point. We're giving you the tools, and whatever you do with those tools is entirely your onus. You are a free agent. Do with this knowledge whatever you'd like. And if you choose to destroy the world, we'll have to stop you a little bit. But, we give you the right to attempt to. We will kill you, though.
Okay. Loud and clear.
But, here we get to equivocation. Well, usually what I call false equivalence. But, we'll get into a real world, time that I had to use this recently for essentially when I did an audit on, a philosopher when I was reading through all of his works.
Wonder who that is.
We'll see. And I left a little Easter egg in the video for anyone who was caring to, like, pause the video that much. Because I was just like...
okay.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my god, did this actually just happen that on the nose? But, alas, it did. But, and the thing is that it does... No one is free from being... fallacious in their arguments because we are human. We're human. We're subject to error.
We are.
We're subject to error. We are subject to make mistakes. And you know what? Sometimes it happens a lot. And that's okay. It just means that we strive forwards towards truth. And we strive for it.
Yeah.
And if we're wrong, we're wrong. And if we're right, we're right. But when we see that something is a little bit far from what we might consider true because it is a fallacious argument, it is always good to kind of pause and be like, oh, I'm going to reconsider this argument a little bit more. Because once again, I've been given something that I should be a little bit skeptical of. But the fallacy of equivocation, assigning two different things, two different meanings to the same significant word in an argument. This can also extend to, because it's essentially like calling apples and oranges the same thing, right? Both fruit, but, you know, not exactly equivalent. So, only man is rational. No woman... Oh, God, why do they do this? Okay, second one is better. You're a bad writer. If you're a bad writer, then you're a bad boy. Therefore, you're a bad boy. They're trying to use it in the semantic sense here. It can be used in a broader sense. But, the second one is essentially saying, like, bad, meaning incompetent in the first sentence. Then it's saying if you're incompetent of a writer, you're also an immoral person. Which is, these two are not the same. These are one word being used two different ways. And,
so it's saying, like, you're a bad writer, as in you're incompetent at it. You're just not that good at writing. So they already used that word bad, and now they try to sneak it in there, like, well, you're a bad writer, so you're a bad person.
yeah,
Like
you're
that?
a bad boy. And it's like, oh, that's not what you said originally. Hold up there. But essentially, when I had to use this to God, where'd it go? When I had to use this in my own research for my own video. If you guys haven't seen it, we're about to do a little deep dive. Not a deep dive. I'm gonna show you an Easter egg. Pull back the curtain a little bit, if you will.
Ooh, okay.
If it
Get
decides
ready.
to load, because YouTube doesn't want to work with me today.
Let's all pray. Pray to the oil gods, the sentient oil.
Sentient oil, please let us get to the video. Oh God, if I hear my voice, I'm going
let the
to fucking
gears of
scream.
YouTube grade along. Let them churn. Let them rattle. So we can watch this video.
Yes. Let the dust infect. Alrighty. Oh man, it's really not working today.
Uh-oh. I need to pray harder.
Pray harder. This is your fault.
Please, sentient oil, god of modernity, god of freaking optimization, acceleration, perfection even, is what we're trying to achieve here, perfection.
Perfection.
Please give us more energy to pump into the YouTube data centers.
I think it's just my computer
Into
being
all
weird.
Crap.
Yeah, I know. Unsure why. Okay, so it seems as though it's not loading, but essentially within this within my Nick Land video, if you pause it at a very specific point in which I'm going through arguments in the Dark Enlightenment, huh?
Do you want to give them the timestamp, or do they need to find it?
I can't even find it right now because it's not loading on my end.
Oh.
But when it gets to the point in which I'm debriefing on what the Dark Enlightenment is about, and I'm including screenshots from the Dark Enlightenment, and I'm kind of like being like, it's anti-democracy, anti-equality, anti-etc. There's a point in time in which I believe I say anti-equality, and it's essentially he's doing a false equivalence between a population being society being equal, a population being equal to being genetically homogeneous. So
okay.
so the fallacious reasoning there is when society means to be equal, it does not need to be clones of each other. He uses literally the word clones, and also monozygotic twins. In which, like, it's like, oh, there's no genetic differentiation between these two. No, that's not what equal means. They can be equal genetically, but they can still also be, like, they can have equal rights, you know, as people do in society. And that would be a false equivalence. So, when you're reading these texts, even by people with PhDs, they can make fallacious arguments. It happens. It happens.
Sometimes they slip in there.
Yeah, it happens. And it happens even to the best of us. But you get a good sense about when you're reading, you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And then you pause and you're like, oh my god, that's a false equivalence just like right in front of me. And you think to yourself, shall I...
So he's arguing against equality?
Yes.
And
he's
his
saying that it
reason
can
is like, well,
exist.
society can't be equal, or we can't have equal rights because we're not all the same.
Essentially because we are not genetically
identical.
We cannot be equal.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was just kind of like a very much like, did I actually just read that? Is that something that was literally just put in front of my face? And it was put in front of my face. But, you know, and the thing is that and it was written in, I believe, 2012, 2013. It's a work of, it's a work that it's got a lot of fallacies in it, genuinely. And I think that's, once you're able to decipher them, you're kind of just like, oh man, I'm reading through this and I'm like, but, because the thing is that I fundamentally I don't know Nick Land personally. I can't say that I hate him because I don't know him. But reading through his work, I was just kind of like, oh, this is really depressing. Because there were some works originally that I thought of his that were like, you know, sci-fi stuff that was quite good. But I found it kind of depressing afterwards because I was just like, why would you who got a PhD in philosophy from a fairly new program at the University of Warwick, I'm going to keep saying it like that because why would you forget that there's an extra W in there, UK? That's so crazy. But,
they love not pronouncing letters, man.
We should really help them out.
Yeah.
But,
what do you mean it's Leicester? It's clearly Leicester. What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Glasgow.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so essentially, like, you can get all these credentials to speak on these matters and still make these mistakes or these fallacious arguments. And you're also prone to hearing them in a lot of things that are online, and a lot of things that are published already. Things that you think that have the credentials, but it's not there. And when we post this, I'll include a timestamp in my video if someone wants to pause on that exact moment. You can see where I flip it off of screen, and underneath there's like hidden text that says like, bro knows that this is a false equivalence because of X and Y. And so I was just like, but
frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially in written works like that, because we all make mistakes, like you said already, but I feel like especially in speech, they can slip in, and then later we can be like, oh, well, actually I said that, but now I see what was wrong about it. But if you write it down in your PhD paper and you read it over a couple times, you should be a little bit more careful with that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that it's like, what can you do when it happens? And also, no one's above this. Like, we can still use this in speech.
Just own up to it.
Yeah.
That's what you do. If it happens, own up to it.
Yeah. Genuinely, there's nothing wrong with being incorrect sometimes. We're humans. It's normal. Owning up to it is really the biggest thing that you can do. But anyway, yeah. Once again, it's trying to make another argument here that I'm just not going to do. But appeal to ignorance. Here's another one.
Okay.
This fallacy tries to prove something by appealing to what we don't know. An appeal to ignorance is arguing that either 1, claim is true because it hasn't been proven false, or 2, claim is false because it hasn't been proven true. Thing is that what it's trying to say here is we're trying to extrapolate whether it's true or false when we lack the evidence in the first place. We don't know. We just don't know. The answer is we don't know. Not it's true or it's false. The answer is we don't know. So, super green algae can cure cancer. No scientific study has ever shown that this does not work. We don't know if it can cure cancer or not because no scientific study has shown us. No one has ever shown that ESP, extrasensory perception, is real. Therefore, it does not exist. We don't know. We don't know. What we say is we don't know.
Okay.
So essentially, it's an appeal to ignorance because it is trying to say, because we don't know, it is true or it is false. When it's just, we're ignorant. We don't know.
It's like, can you prove Bigfoot doesn't exist? So
we don't know.
It's
a fallacious argument because we're trying to prove something, but we lack the evidence. There we go. We lack the evidence. So it doesn't enlighten us. We can't say horses can't fly. Therefore, they must be able to fly. But since no one can can't prove that horses can fly, horses must be able to fly. No, we just...
I feel like you can prove a horse can't fly, no?
I mean, just getting into a different type of argument altogether, which would be we would just have to prove that logically a different way. But we can't prove it through this exact argument structure because it is a fallacious argument. Because if you try to appeal to ignorance, if you say, because we can't prove X, therefore Y, fallacious argument. That is an appeal to ignorance.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
False dilemma. You are forced to choose between 2 unattractive possibilities, and is also known as a false dilemma. So, 1 is, you have to listen to reason. Either you must sell your car to pay your rent, or the landlord will throw you out on the street. Obviously, you aren't going to sell your car, so you're going to be evicted. This is the argument of, you have 2 choices. And the answer is, but what about the secret third thing?
Oh.
Yeah. Essentially, you only have 2 choices.
Someone is presenting you only 2 or a few options, but that's not all the options.
Yeah.
Actually. Okay.
Because, as you can see, you can just sell your DVD player, shows the oldest textbook is, and TV, instead of selling your car, or maybe you could, I don't know, borrow money from a friend or something, get a job, you know? Yeah. You don't need to sell your car specifically, but...
Take out a small $1 million.
Trump, is that you?
Yeah.
But, yeah, no. Essentially, it's trying to say that there are only 2 options, or there's only these options, but, we don't consider that there might be a secret third thing, or a secret fourth thing, or fifth thing, or whatever, what have you. So, that is a false dilemma. Okay. Any questions?
Someone presents you a false dilemma.
How are we doing, audience surrogate?
Good. A little hot, but I hope the whooshing of my fan isn't too bothersome on my microphone. I don't think it is, so.
No, I don't think so.
Chad would have complained. Or you would have. I'm doing good. I think we're following along so far. Yeah. We're speeding through these, so this is going to be a quick one. So we're going to have time for so much Geoguessr. Oh,
we are.
Already looking forward to it.
Hey, listen.
It's going to be the little treat after the lecture.
Treat after the lecture is Geoguessr time! Geoguessr! But, okay. Yay. Next we have, I'm going to use this as a pointer. Sure.
A pointer? Ooh.
Yes. So, we have begging the question, which is essentially trying to prove a conclusion when that conclusion is, sorry. Words, hello. Trying to prove a conclusion using this very same conclusion as support. X is true because X is
Okay.
true.
It's true tropical stock is a duke because tropical stock is a duke.
Because-
is like they're the owner of land in Europe. I don't know, what is a duke exactly?
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be the owner of a duchy. So, technically, the second one would prove that I'm a duke. The first one would just be like, tropical stuck is a duke because they're called Duke Tropical.
Okay.
So, God, they really go for all the religious examples. Come on.
Well, I feel like your audience is nice and balanced. They have discernment. We're all smart here, guys, aren't we? So
I'm sure we are, but I don't want anyone to, like, try later on in the comments and be
And
like,
fight about
but
it."
wait. But wait, there's more. Like, no, there's not more, actually. All
We're
citizens
just
have a
very
right to fair
dryly
trial
looking
because
at
those whom the
argument
state
structure.
is obliged to protect and give consideration are automatically due to judicial criminal proceedings that are equitable by any reasonable standard.
Okay.
Well, it's just saying X is a thing because X is the thing. Passage may seem like a good argument, but it isn't. It reduces this unimpressive assertion, all citizens have a right to fair trial because citizens have a right to a fair trial. Yeah. Basically, it has a lot more words in there.
Okay. So it's it just sort of describes the thing.
Yeah, it just says, yeah, all
more
citizens
words.
have a right to a fair trial because all citizens have a right to a fair trial. And it's like, it's subtle, but it's often synonymous with a tautology. Yeah, circular reasoning is subtle, as we said. But it can ensnare even its own creators. And if you just say the argument and, like, the premise and the conclusion are the same, if you logically map out your argument like we did in class 1, and you realize that your conclusion and your premise are the same, you've made a fallacious argument. You've begged the question.
Okay. Yeah, begging the question is also called circular reasoning then sometimes.
Yes, there's overlap. They're not exactly the same, but we'll get to that at another time. Or you could just watch another video where they explain the difference between the two. But we're keeping it simple. They're using
wait
this
for the
synonymously
advanced
here, which I
classes.
think we disagreed with prior, but yeah. So next we have our slippery slope argument, which is essentially the metaphor behind it is when you go on a steep incline and you start losing your footing and sliding into disaster. The fallacy.
Don't slip
We're
and fall.
sliding into the next conclusion. Oh no.
Okay.
But it's essentially just arguing erroneously that one action will inevitably lead into the next action, which will result in a dire outcome. It doesn't always need to be a dire outcome. It can just be an outcome. One thing will always lead to the next, when you've not actually proven that one will logically follow the other. You are assuming. So, the keyword is erroneously. A slippery slope scenario becomes fallacious when there is no reason to believe that the chain of events predicted will ever happen. For example, getting political again.
When did we ever let reality stop us, guys?
When did we ever let reality stop us?
Yeah.
This trend towards gay marriage must be stopped. If gay marriage is permitted, then traditional marriage between a man and a woman will be debased and devalued, which will lead to an increase in divorces. And higher divorce rates can only harm our children. So somehow gay marriage will lead to harming children.
Yeah, okay.
But it is a fallacious argument
So
because
the slippery slope here is that gay marriage will devalue heterosexual marriage, which doesn't have to be the case.
Well, I think it would be kind of crazy for it to be devalued by a completely separate marriage if it's just something that stands on its own. But once again, we're not arguing for or against this. We are providing the frameworks.
We don't know shit about kitten. Socrates the tropical.
Stucrates the tropical. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate you. Thank you for the 20 doubloons again. But essentially, yeah, no. Once again, it's taking one thing and then being like, and therefore this thing will happen, and therefore this thing will happen, and therefore this thing will happen. And it's like, whoa, slow your roll there, buddy. We haven't even gotten to the first thing.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
If we are to believe that this chain of event, like, it could happen, but it's not something that supports a logical argument because we're trying to prove something with logic here. We're not trying to prove that it could, like, there's a possibility somewhere out there in the statistics. We're trying to say, logically, it follows this will happen. So here, it's a fallacious argument because, you know, maybe if you gave good reasons as to why X might follow Y, you know, have sort of causality there, necessary functions, but because there are none, it's a slippery slope because it just keeps building on the next thing without addressing the fact that perhaps the first thing in the slippery slope wasn't even like really that solid of an argument in the first place or a premise. And then it gets to this very like kind of, usually when I've seen it, it's been used to build up a very crazy conclusion. And it's almost always kind of just like you're looking at it and you're like, what do you mean the green M&M being put into sneakers is going to devalue society? Like, okay, sure, man. What? But it's just kind of like I guess in some reality it could, but you haven't really logically proven that, have you? The existence of that reality could exist, but you have not proved it with this argument. Kind of just said a bunch of really weird shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially.
Yeah, this reminds me of some of my friends used to do this a lot, where they would say, well, we need to watch out for this because, and then they would take it to the extreme, like the ultimate end of it. And yeah, sometimes it's good to think about what things could lead to, but oftentimes this would just be so far out and so reached that it was obvious this was never going to happen. So yeah, that was really annoying. Like, what do you mean we can't have this thing because of this like doom scenario all the way there at the end, which is like very unlikely.
Yeah, essentially it's just begging, it's essentially like, oh, we can predict the future. We know that this will happen. This will be the dire outcome that will happen for certain.
Well, you haven't actually proven it, because sometimes you have evidence to prove.
Yes,
like,
and these arguments can actually make a lot of sense if you put the proper pieces together. But it will often, it's a fallacious argument because you have not properly described your logic in a way that logically follows, which is why it's a slippery slope and not an actual argument that could be, logically sound.
Yeah.
Once again, these arguments can be fixed. Like, you can change what's in this argument to make it so that it is a valid argument, but right now it remains both invalid and unsound because it's not logically following. These premises are not logically following to this conclusion. So, once again, we're giving you the framework for arguing how you believe your viewpoint to be. Whether or not you agree with any of this, whether you agree with it or disagree, it is not a matter of agreement or disagreement. It is a matter of being logically sound. That is what we're doing here, and that is what you're here to learn, beautiful, beautiful person. Listen, you got this. But the way to do it is not through a slippery slope.
Nope.
Yes.
If you want to flex on the haters, gotta do it with good arguments, bro.
Yep. And also, it's not trying to find truth, which is what we're trying to do here. We love wisdom. Philosophia, to love, or sorry, philo meaning love, Sophia meaning wisdom. We want to find truth. And we can't find truth if we're using logic that isn't sound. Because then we're just finding lies. And you know what? Maybe lies can help us cope a little bit, but it doesn't mean that we're examining reality. And I think that it is more virtuous, personally, I find it to be more virtuous, that we look to find truths than things that help us assuage our whatever might help us feel better in the moment, or maybe trying to cry out and say, oh, but I'm worried about this thing, when it's just fallacious argument, not sound. And let's find an actual conclusion that helps us.
Yeah, because I like that you said cope, because cope can help you in the short term, but in the long term, if you're just coping, it's gonna bite you. It's gonna come back for you. It's what did Jordan Peterson say? Like, do you think you can twist the fabric of reality without it snapping back at you? Something like that.
I've watched a few of his early lectures before, I guess, his crash out or whatever, but I don't remember
this is
that.
Very early stuff. This is years and years ago. But essentially, if you keep on lying, you're gonna run into some walls, man. Shit is gonna hit the fan, and it's gonna come crumbling down.
The thing is that people who are doing these sorts of arguments probably, for the most part, they don't know that they're doing a fallacious argument, which is why it's so good to know these things. Because the thing is that you can do these entirely in good faith, and oftentimes people do, but it is fundamentally a fallacious argument, which means that it's farther from the truth, because at the same time, you would be better off if you tried to find the logic behind your argument and defend it from there, if you even choose to do so, because maybe you just want to question it until you find some sort of root, inherent, we can say inherent truth, but inherent, what is closest to reality for you. Because if you don't examine where you've gotten this belief from, then you might be not realizing that you have a part of that belief that is false, you know? And maybe you've done this slippery slope argument to get to this thing, like, oh man, if we keep advancing technology, we're gonna get to the singularity. When it's like, whoa, there are steps in between there. We need to prove logically how that follows. And it is a possibility. Yeah, sure, no one's arguing that. But once again, it does not mean that we have assured that outcome. That slippery slope.
We could pause somewhere on the way. Maybe right now we should pause a little bit, but yeah.
There are different solutions too, because it's once again assuming that you know the result. This chain of events you're describing, you've said it's not stopping. It's going to happen exactly as it happens, and no one's changing that train's course. When it's like, no, reality's not that simple.
Yeah.
But alas, that is a slippery slope. It's a very common one. It's a very, very common one. And once again, you can fix any of these arguments so that they actually are logically sound, but you cannot do it on the premise of one of them being fallacious.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we go to the next one?
Yes. Next one is composition.
Professor Duke's tropical stuck.
At your service. Sometimes, what is true about the parts of a thing is also true of the whole, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not.
Ooh, okay.
Okay,
tell me more.
The fallacy of composition is arguing erroneously what can be said of the parts can be said of the whole. Consider, each piece of wood that makes up this house is lightweight. Therefore, the whole house is lightweight.
Okay. Doesn't have to be the case. Okay.
Audience surrogate, do you think that if the whole house is made of lightweight wood, the house itself is also lightweight?
Well, it could be still a very heavy house. Although, if I want to be really nitpicky, probably in this grand scheme of house building, you would call it a lightweight house.
What if it
But
has other
no, the
materials,
house can
though?
still be heavy. Sorry?
What if it has other materials, though?
Oh,
It's got
that could be
concrete
true.
foundation, just in Florida.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I could the house can still be super heavy, even though all the materials that were used to make it are very light. Because put together, it's something else.
What can be said of the parts may not always be said of the whole. Each soldier in the platoon is proficient. Therefore, the platoon as a whole is proficient. What do you think, audience surrogate?
Well, it sounds kind of true, but maybe all the soldiers are proficient, but they're still bad at teamwork, and therefore they don't operate well as a unit. Could be.
Maybe
Or
they're
there's like
proficient
some
in
other
something
thing
else.
that's keeping them back.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're all proficient, but they have shitty gear, so they're still dysfunctional as a group.
What can be said of the composition may not be able to be said about the whole. Therefore, fallacious argument! Whoops!
Okay.
And then we have the
That one
inverse.
makes a lot of sense to me.
Then we have the inverse. Yippee! The inverse division. Which is,
Okay.
if you turn the fallacy of composition upside down, you get the fallacy of division. Arguing erroneously that what can be said of the whole can be said of its parts. This house is heavy. Therefore, every part of this house is heavy.
But that's not true, because as we just discovered, maybe all the materials are pretty light.
And
but
yet the house is
itself
heavy.
is still heavy. Okay.
The platoon is very effective. Therefore, every member of the platoon is effective.
Yeah, that's obviously not true. That one even feels more intuitively false.
And
There
as you
could
get
be a bad guy
like a
in there.
nose for these sorts of things, you can pick them out very easily in arguments. But once again, you just, and what I would suggest for everyone in chat is I'll put homework in the description after the VOD is out. And you can go through and just start going through and being like, oh, this one's this. Like, this one's a hasty generalization. Oh, this one's a genetic fallacy. Oh, this one's division. Oh, and then you just get really good at being like, once you start hearing a lot of them and picking them out and knowing, oh, it's this fallacy, it becomes kind of muscle memory. That's why when I was reading and essentially doing an audit on a philosopher, I was immediately able to pick out a fallacy because I was just like, oh, wait, no, that doesn't logically follow. And then I was like, oh, that's a fallacy. But alas, you know, we are all prone to making mistakes. And perhaps our reasoning can be fallacious in doing so, but what makes us even better as people who are looking into finding truth is being able to find when it is definitely not true. And fallacious arguments are probably the easiest spitfire way off the top of your head that you can look at something and be like, oh, that's not true. So yeah, yippee! Any questions, audience surrogate?
No, not really. I think these two make sense, especially together. They, it makes sense in my head.
Yeah, there are definitely more fallacies out there. Once again, plenty of videos that exist on what arguments are fallacious and what common logical fallacies are. There's an entire Wikipedia page on every type of logical fallacy. But these are some common ones for you to look at stuff and be like, oh, that doesn't make sense because of this, or that doesn't make sense because of that. And oh, that one's a slippery slope. Or oh, that one's a composition fallacy. Like, what can be said of the whole may not be said of all of its parts. Division. So you just get really good at picking out like, wait, that doesn't logically follow, huh? And then
Yeah,
once
and
you
you also
have
know
that
exactly
skill, it
why.
is super helpful for when you're watching stuff and you're like, why did this commentary channel just say that? That makes no sense. But also, it makes it really fun to just be like, oh wait, that makes no sense. And I think that's really
Yeah.
just like the nice part about being in the know, because now you know.
Mm.
And now you're no longer
Yeah.
susceptible to kind of like the magic of like what rhetoric does. Because once again, back
Okay.
in the day of Plato and his contemporaries, there were sophists. And sophists are usually people who are self-described, but also sometimes externally described, experts in a certain like field or, some type of knowledge. But oftentimes was the case, was especially in Plato's opinion, when which you read the dialogue Sophist, where the Eleatic stranger would argue that essentially maybe sophists are just people who are using rhetoric in a very dazzling way, because reality is subjective, blah, 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 blah. I can make you believe whatever I want.
Okay.
But when you actually remove the rhetoric, you can peel back the curtain and be like, no, logically what you just said doesn't follow. And so what seems like a really appealing argument, you're like, oh, no, because logically here you messed up. Or logically there you messed up. And so when
Yeah.
you watch
Okay.
things like political commentary, cultural commentary, I don't know, commentary in general, reading literature, reading philosophy, you find a lot of these things just kind of hidden in stuff. And
Watching talk shows, if you ever do that still, I don't know, we're not boomers here, but maybe some people.
hey, maybe some people are. And like
Yeah.
people can comment on like, I don't know, an anime and be like, this is an anime review channel. And like, I don't like this part about this anime because of this, and I think it's like, I don't know, problematic, or what do people complain about anime? I don't know. But yeah, and it's just like, you can pick apart like, no, I disagree with this argument because this is fallacious reasoning right here. You have a falsehood. There. Snatch. Pick that out.
So it's not just for owning my haters, but it's also for my own beliefs.
Yes, because we're
Trying to figure out for myself what is right and what's wrong.
Exactly.
Or what's true and what's false, I should say. Yeah.
So you can argue your point better, but also you can find what is closest to your truth. Because sometimes what feels to be true and what feels best might be, when you tear it down bit by bit, false. And I think perhaps that's a scary feeling at first, but when you realize just how much stronger the ideas that come afterwards are, you feel significantly better. Because you're like, I can piece together a truthful argument that doesn't feel like cope anymore, and now I can do it in a way that is logically sound, and it feels significantly more intuitively correct, as I have experienced at least. And I would like everyone else to be able to do that as well. Because when you pick apart a lot of arguments, you can agree with them or disagree with them, but being able to know why you agree or disagree, that's fantastic. And when you're able to articulate it to the person that's making the fallacious argument and say, well, this doesn't make sense because of this, even better.
Then you're God.
Then you're God. Yes, we've gotten to the point in which you are God.
I said a God, but yeah. Yeah. I've had experiences where sometimes I just really like saying things just for the sake of them. And then people will ask me, but why? Why do you believe this? Or they will start asking follow-up questions and trying to delve deeper into my beliefs. And then sometimes I truly don't have answers for them. And I'm like, fuck, like frick.
You can curse.
Think about this enough. Huh?
You can curse.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to cut down my own cursing just for my own sake. But
Okay.
I still curse.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it makes you realize, oh, maybe I didn't think about this hard enough. But if you sometimes sit down and think about the things you believe and why you believe them, and if they actually make sense at the end of the day, it feels really nice to be sturdy in that, and also be able to articulate clearly to other people what you believe and why you believe that.
Yeah. I often I often host debates, but they're really more of dialogues. And
I didn't even know this
we've
one.
had a very fun one
Okay.
in which you were playing a character.
Oh, yeah.
But essentially like kind of I've had another one recently in which someone was trying to explain to me like, "Oh, well I'm a Christian nationalist." And I was like, "Okay, so how does someone like are you revoking citizenship to people that are not Christian?" And he was like, "No, I would actually go to war against anyone that would try to do that to anyone in my population." And I was like, "Okay, so how does someone go about getting immigration to your Christian nationalist state?" And he was like, "The normal way." And I was like, "Then is it Christian nationalism?
Or just liberalism.
Is it just neoliberal?" And he was like, "It's essentially just America, but we have more Christian values." And I was like, "So..." And he tried to say like, and like we don't like we don't do as much heroin, like we denounce that. And I'm like, they didn't say heroin was in the Bible. And he was like, "Damn, we should do heroin." I was like, "We should do heroin." But it's like not piecing together, but like truly just getting to the fundamental belief system when you're like, "Oh, what you have described as a Christian nationalist is actually just like what everyone else would call neoliberal."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is already kind of based on some Christian beliefs.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but some.
Abrahamic monotheistic, yes.
Yeah.
But alas, when you really tear these things down to their parts, it's you get like a much cleaner answer, but perhaps it's less spicy.
Mm.
But yeah, with that, I think class might be dismissed unless we have some like really really crazy questions.
Did it make sense to you, class? Could you follow along?
Bro went platonic on him. I did have a bit of a Socratic discussion. We had a bit of Socratic back and forth, one might say, a dialogue. But I was I didn't have the intention of doing so. It was more so just like this because once again, the way I was taught was you strive for definitions first. And so when I was like, okay, define Christian nationalism, and like we kept going down the rabbit hole of like, this isn't very Christian, is it? It's just neoliberalism. Like you're allowing other things to exist in your Christian state, and essentially everything functions just like it does in the U.S. But now it's just got kind of the Bible stamped somewhere on it. When it's just like you don't need Christian nationalism to do that. Actually, you can just have the moral virtues of Christianity upheld more within that society, but not even have it explicitly be Christian, just like have it be Abrahamic, and it can just exist as the moral framework, but it doesn't need to be explicitly Christian. It can just be we aspire to have more virtues in our society as a state.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need, because Christian nationalism assumes that, for the most part, as people use it, citizenship will be revoked from people that are not Christian. Hence why it's Christian nation together.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, or a full-on theocracy.
Yeah, a full-on theocracy. In which there are countries like that that exist that are maybe not Christian, but like they exist.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, okay, so is citizenship getting revoked from people that are not Christian? And when he said no, I was like, what's your definition of Christian nationalism? And so that's why I'm very, to not have a semantic argument, which is an argument sort of based around definitions. That's like a very loose term of putting it, but I was like, okay, so it's not Christian nation you're looking for, therefore it's not really Christian nationalism. You're more so just a neoliberal who has Christian beliefs and just want to uphold more of those virtues within society, which doesn't need to be enforced by the state. The thing is about Christian nationalism is it's implied to be enforced by the state, hence Christian nationalism. But yeah. So,
Okay.
alas, I think
Well,
with that,
thank you for enjoying the class. I see some people did enjoy it, so glad to hear.
we love anyone that at least attempts to have a dialogue, though. The thing is that there is nothing more fruitful from a conversation, from a debate, from a dialogue, than to get closer to the
Than
truth.
people seeking truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I respect it a lot. Yeah.
And I think people that are willing to step up to the plate and actually do it, listen, you have my respect. So, I appreciate it for someone even being like, oh, well, I'm going to explain why I believe this, and then picking each piece apart, we're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. And then we get closer to the truth, which is way cooler.
Yeah. Those are my favorite types of conversations as well, where it's not really a debate where either party's trying to win. You're both trying to get to the truth.
Yeah.
And maybe you're doing that from two perspectives. You know, that can happen.
Synthesis.
But yeah.
But, alas, I think it's time